Hey guys, it's Chef Jason Morris, your Ace Hardware grilling expert. Are you ready? Are you ready for today's edition of Ace This Recipe? Because it's all about this right here. This beautiful, juicy, delicious prime rib. We're going to show you today how to select the prime rib, how to plan how much you need for your guests, how to trim the bone, how to season it, get the grill started. We're going to show you everything start to finish. And finish is going to be me enjoying a little slice of this spinalis, right? That ribeye cap that I know you all love so much. So today's recipe can be found down below in that comment section where you can click, print, and follow along. We have a lot of content down there today, from cooking tips to seasoning tips and more. So be sure to head down there and grab that. Hey, we're also going to walk you through why they call this a prime rib and really give you that little beef eye view, so to speak, and show you how we got here today. We have a lot of cool stuff planned. So I think let's stop horsing around. It is time to walk through this. We're going to get up and close, do a little ingredient flyover, talk about beef selection, and then we're going to get to trimming the bones, seasoning, and more. So thanks so much for joining us. We hope you are ready for this. I know I am, so let's get cooking. Okay, what did I look for when I bought this? I think meat selection is definitely a very important part of this process. Let me show you something here. See, when you push down on that, it's not hard. It's relatively squishy. When I look at this package, I'm looking for that softness up top here because I want to make sure the fat isn't really thick over the cap, because then when I season it, I can take what little bit of fat is up there and really make a beautiful crunchy bark so that we get a good amount of seasoning around the entire side, and that really gives it a ton of flavor. So I felt through here. I wanted to see how much firmness there was to this, and there wasn't a lot, so I liked it. Down here in the tail, definitely firm, right where we're here by this tail of fat. And that's okay. I'm going to leave that because I'm going to actually set this towards the back of the grill, and that will protect that just a little bit. So I wanted to make sure I had a solid piece of meat. This is the spinalis. That's that ribeye cap that we all love so much. I could also see this when they had it wrapped in the package, so I went with a really big spinalis. Now, look at the marbling in here. I went with prime, right? And keep in mind, when someone says prime rib, they're not necessarily talking about prime grade. They call it prime rib because it's one of the 9 primal cuts of beef on the animal. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. However, I went with prime grade because the spinalis had beautiful marbling, and so did this center muscle, which is called the longissimus dorsi. So I could see this in the package. I bought a half of a ribeye roast. This is about 10.5 pounds, so a perfect size for our family of 4, making sure I had a good amount of meat. Now I also, let me show you here, I made sure there was bones. I wanted to have those bones to really give me some flavor. And what we're going to do is actually trim those bones and separate them from the meat so that we can get some seasoning down in here as well. But that's it. That is the beauty of the prime rib that we bought. Ready for a little ingredient flyover? Well, there we have it. That beautiful, oh man, that gorgeous prime rib. We're going to do a 50-50 blend today of rub-a-dub and prime rib rub-a-dub. We're going to get that beautiful rosemary garlic out of the prime rib rub-a-dub. Then we're going to get that salt, pepper, and a little bit of tomato out of the rub-a-dub itself. We went with a little bit of olive oil to act as a binder. We're going to rub that olive oil on there. That will help that rub stick. But super easy, right? Not a lot of ingredients. The goal, really let that beef shine. This, to me, prime rib is about the ultimate beef experience. So I like to keep it neutral and really let that beef become the star of the show. We've got a cutting board, a sharp knife to help us separate the bones and get it all set. And then, hey, let's talk a little bit about that primal cut. Look at that right there. We have a little chart for you, and that shows the 9 primal cuts of beef on the animal. So the rib, which contributes about 9.5% of the total weight of the animal, that's what we're cutting today and cooking today. We're going to cook the rib roast section. So there you have it. That is why it is called prime rib. So you can see on this, we've got 4 bones, right? And you can basically see right about here where the top of each bone is. So I'm actually going to trim along the top of each bone to kind of set my guideline of where I want to go. Now, if we turn it to the side, we also know we have to go down, right? Our goal is to take that trim with the knife along the bone about like that, right? So we want to follow that line all the way down. I'm going to make a hinge. So all I have to do is fold the bone back and then we'll tie it up. I'm not actually going to separate the entire bone. So let's go through here and show you kind of how we do that, right? So I'm going to go very simple, very easy, and then I'm going to hold that just a little bit. And again, following the curve of those rib bones, right? Now I can start to get in there, see a little bit where I'm going, and a little bit more. And again, instead of keeping the knife cutting this way, I'm actually keeping it on the bone so that instead of laying it that way where I can slip and go in, if I trim along the bone, I know I get right down where I need to be, right? And it's easy. It's not hard. I'm just separating it, and they naturally kind of want to separate, but this is what I'm looking for. I have a nice bone. I made a flap. Very easy. Just a little bit of olive oil. Nothing crazy. I'm not looking to add a ton of fat and have this become a grease fire, right? I want to just get enough to hold that rub on. And again, you know we always say add as much or as little as you want, right? And I think that's super important. But when it comes to this, I'm going to add a little bit extra inside the bone because we're going to fold that back on there. So now what I'll do is hold it up on the top side, get a little bit of oil. Again, just enough to bind. That's all we're trying to really do here. And I'll season that. I went ahead and made that 50-50 blend of rub-a-dub and prime rib rub-a-dub, and I'll pack that on there. Now, I'm going to let this sit for just a minute because I want as much as possible to stick to this before I turn it. Okay, it is time to tie. We've got 3 nice little ties already made. What I do is push it forward, the prime rib a little bit forward. I want it to sit on that bone properly. Then I made a little lasso on one end because it really helps tying by a single person work out so much better. So now I can cinch down on that nice and tight and then come back through here and get this all secure. That way, like I said, if it's one person, I don't have to struggle with tying a knot, but if you see, that is pretty solid and on there, not going anywhere. So do the other one as well. Make that little lasso, lean that guy towards the back, cinch it down nice. We've got a good pull, and we don't want to cut into the meat. We're not looking to cinch it down too tight. And then we'll hold that guy there, come through the bottom here, and go like that. Look at that, nice and tight. Super easy, quick little lasso trick. Really helps when you are a single-handed tire, right? All right, got a plastic wrap set. What I'm gonna do is take that first piece over and the second piece that way. And now what I'll do is get this wrapped up, right? I want to keep that rub in there. I want that rub to really do its magic and get things flavored well. So then what we'll do, put it in a pan. Now it is into the refrigerator for about 12 to 16 hours. We want this guy to sit. So we'll get our station cleaned up, we'll get this in the fridge, and then we're gonna chill out for a little bit, let this guy do its thing. We'll see you back here when it's time to get the grill fired up next. We are cooking on this beauty today, the Traeger Ironwood 885. We went ahead and changed out the foil, so we've got brand new foil, nice and clean, really ready to give us that true smoke flavor. Then we went ahead and loaded it with our Texas beef. That is a oak, mesquite, and pecan blend. Gonna give this a lot of flavor. So we're gonna go ahead and dial this to 180 degrees, and we're gonna hit ignite. So the first part of our cooking process for this prime rib is gonna be the smoke. And we're going to give it a ton of wood-fired fun and a ton of wood-fired flavor at 180 degrees. Well, okay, we are done. We let this guy sit about 14 hours, and we'll take the plastic wrap off real quick. And as you can see, look at that. That beautiful red, like, soaked in there color, right? Now, let's say you're looking at this thinking, man, I just need a little bit more rub. What I would do, drizzle a tiny bit more oil on there, right? Because that oil is kind of doing its thing with that other rub. Get that guy all set. Then I may coat it with just a little bit more over the top as well. All right, guys, there you go. We are set and ready to go. Traeger's preheated to 180. I have the probe plugged in. I'm going to go ahead and load the probe now so I'm done. But did you see where I went? I went in the side of it. That way I know that I am exactly in the middle this way and right into the middle that way, so we are good to go. I haven't set the alarm yet on the probe because I am waiting until we get done with that smoking process. And like the recipe says, go ahead and do 1 to 2 hours of smoke, depending on how heavy you like it. So we're gonna shut the lid. We're gonna start off. Let's take a peek here. This is where we are after 2 hours of smoke. Isn't that amazing? I'll tell you the nice thing too is now I've given it its foundation of flavor, right? Like I said, I wanted to get some smoke in there first, really getting everything set. And you'll notice at 180 degrees, we haven't started rendering a lot of fat. Now what we've done is, look at that. We went ahead and set the temperature to 375. Make sure we're getting a nice hot sear on this. All right, let's take a look here real quick. We're just at about 100 degrees on this prime rib, and look at that. Doing a beautiful job. You can see the fat starting to render off nicely. We're getting a really good color on it, and we're building up a pretty fantastic crust as well. So, like I said, we're at 100 degrees, 101 right now. We're gonna close this, let it finish up until we hit that 125 when it's time to rest. It is time now to do a little resting, and look at that beautiful ribeye muscle, right? We have that spinalis, that longissimus in the middle. That's just gorgeous. We pulled this guy off at 124 degrees, so almost where we wanted, and now we're gonna let it rest for about 15 minutes. The key to resting is really making sure all of that moisture that has kind of pushed its way in the middle in protection mode now has a chance to soften and redistribute throughout that entire rib. How is that for doneness right there? My mom always said, don't talk with your mouth full, but I can't help it because this prime rib is absolutely fantastic. And look at that. The beauty of it is now I've got doneness here and all through that. So I've got more done, less done, and even less done in the middle. Now I can make everybody happy. Yeah, that's prime rib. The trailer smells fantastic. I mean, the whole back of the hardware store really smells fantastic. Prime rib is not a difficult task by any stretch of the imagination. I think the hardest part of this is waiting while it does its smoke for a couple hours and while it does its roast. So total, we did about 2 hours of smoke, and we're at about a little over 2.5 hours of roasting and finishing time. It came out fantastic. We pulled this at 124 degrees, let it carry over, and life is good. The cool thing about this is, check this out. I've now got some end pieces for folks that like the end pieces. I've got that medium well, that medium rare. So I really tried to cook it so that I could satisfy everyone eating at our house, giving multiple levels of doneness. So don't forget, you can grab today's recipe, head down into that comment section, click, print, and follow along. You'll be able to grab the recipe too. And then up top, we've got that little eye. That is our information station. That's where you can get in on the world of gear, gadgets, and grills. Learn everything that we use to cook today. Pretty quick, and I'll tell you what, super fun as well. So, hey, we love your comments too. Don't forget to head down below into that comment section and leave us a comment. Tell us what you like. What would you like to see? How can we be more helpful? And hey, maybe even make some recipe suggestions as well. Then while you're down there, don't forget to ring the bell. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell everyone you know. Get in on the Ace Hardware YouTube channel. It is time to get some tasty, tasty content. By subscribing, you'll be notified when we go live as well. And then, I mean, you've mastered prime rib right now, right? At the end of this, we've got a cool video with Diva Q from Traeger and myself having a little fun cooking together, and we'll teach you on that video how to rock out an amazing wood-fired turkey as well. So coming up at the end, make sure you click on that video for more as well. That's it. I'm Chef Jason Morris, your Ace Hardware grilling expert. Yeah, like I'm drooling. Like I've been waiting to eat prime rib since I got started this morning. So we let this guy rest. I'm going to do a little of the end piece because this is like, look at that. Oh, look. Do a little close up. Look at the doneness on that. Like absolutely, totally, and fantastic, perfect. I don't even know what to say. Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate it.